I bought a 2018 MacBook Pro off of eBay. How bad is it? You might have thought I was trolling, but I wasn't. I actually did it. The most interesting part about this era of MacBooks is that they were kind of ahead of their time, and that's where a lot of the problems resulted from. To show you guys just how thin these MacBook Pros were, this is my HP NV16, which was released about a year ago, and look at how absurdly thin this was for 2018. Well, the main problems you hear when buying these 2016 through 2019 MacBooks is, well, the keyboard was straight up dog garbage. It was trash. 2016 through 2017 was where these keyboards experienced the most issues, as they were just failing, like they just weren't working anymore. But outside of that, 2018 through 2019 was kind of, the year of the butterfly keyboard. If, I was telling the truth to you, because they still had issues. But they were improved. I mean, they didn't fail as much, to be fair. And the keyboard problem on these MacBooks were just so bad that Apple even started their own program to get free keyboard replacements because of just the design flaw and issues. But outside of the keyboard being absolutely crap, we're gonna move on to the thermals. And yeah, let's just say the Intel chips on these MacBooks ran hot, specifically in the i9 models. Now, if you have an i7 model, you're kind of in the clear. But with these i9 models, no, these things were literally like portable heaters. And with thermal throttling, obviously when you buy a 3000 machine, you don't want to lose out on performance, especially if you're spending that much money. Another issue would be FlexGate, where the display would fail due to the cable connected to the display being too short. Now, this was fixed on the 2019 models, but during the 2016 and 2018 models, this was a pretty prominent issue. And now the final problem that I just want to highlight personally to myself, which I think is kind of, like, Apple, what are you doing for being a pro machine, is the lack of ports. They went everything USB-C. Now, during that era, you could make a claim that, well, everything was going USB-C during that time period anyways. And that is also a reason people hated these MacBook Pros, is because the port selection honestly sucks. But outside of that, I mean, these machines, they can't be really that bad, right, in 2025. Well, let's talk about it. So first off, let's talk about the design of this MacBook Pro, starting off with the exterior. I really like how thin it is, and I really like this space gray cover and how sleek it is. Like, when I pull this out in the Starbucks, I mean business. I'm typing my professional documents, acting like I'm actually doing something when meanwhile, I'm probably just watching a Netflix series. But besides the point, I really do like the exterior besides the port selection. Essentially, on these MacBook Pros, for some reason, Apple only gave you 4 Thunderbolt ports and a headphone jack, which I honestly hate because it's a pro machine. I should have some pro ports on here. They're not even pro ports. I should just have ports in general. But outside of that, we're moving on to the interior. And obviously, I could just glaze how this Apple display is amazing, but it'd probably be the 5,000th time you've heard somebody speak on how great these Retina Apple displays are. So when it comes to the Retina display, I'm just gonna give you it's amazing, guys. All right, so next up, let's talk about the touch bar and why I'm kind of split on it. For some applications, I can see why the touch bar can be useful if you can find a use for it. Otherwise, it's just kind of like not that useful, I'm gonna be honest. And sometimes when using the machine, I honestly do forget that there is a touch bar on it. But then other times I find myself using the touch bar more and more, and I become more acclimated to it. And I think, you know what? Maybe if Apple actually tried to integrate the touch bar more and make better dedicated software to it, maybe it could have been better than what it is now. But that is just a huge what if, because the touch bar is dead essentially. All right, so right next to the touch bar is Touch ID, which is also the power button, which is probably the most convenient feature about this MacBook. Now, when it comes to the butterfly keyboard on the MacBook Pro, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not my favorite keyboard to really type on. And in case you've never used the butterfly keyboard, the best way of describing it would be a touch screen with a little bit more travel. And to be fair, the first hour, I'm not gonna lie to you, it was very uncomfortable. Then after that, it seemed like a fine typing experience, but I can see definitely why people hated it. And then beneath the butterfly keyboard is the Magic Trackpad, which we know is still great. To this day, Apple makes some of the best trackpads in the game. But the one thing I did wish in 2025 is that these pro machines or these high-spec laptops stopped coming with these little baby trackpads, and they were as huge as this trackpad is on this laptop. That is probably one of my favorite things about it. So besides design, let's talk about performance. Now, as I stated previously in this video, this thing comes with a Core i7 2.6 GHz, 16 GB of DDR4 RAM, a 512 GB SSD, and Radeon Pro 560X graphics with 4 GB of VRAM. Now, upon opening this machine for the first time, this actually had macOS Catalina on it, and I upgraded it to Sonoma. So there are 4 things that I use this MacBook Pro for. Number 1, typing documents. Number 2, video editing. Number 3, photo editing. And number 4, watching movies and YouTube videos. So when it comes to typing documents on this MacBook Pro, it really just comes down to preference, whether or not you like the butterfly keyboard. As for me, I'm perfectly fine typing on it for long periods of time, but for me, it might not be the same as for you. But photo and video editing is where things get really interesting. The two main video editors that I use all the time is Adobe Premiere Pro and CapCut, and the main footage that I film on this channel is in 1080p 60. And if you notice, my videos are not a whole MKBHD production. I film in 1080p 60 on whether it's my camera or my iPhone, do a little bit of tiny bit of color correction, maybe add in a couple effects here and there, pictures, B-roll, and then I upload and export the video. And for that, it's perfectly fine for it. Now, when it comes to 4K footage, obviously, it can handle it, but the question is, should you edit 4K on this laptop? Probably not. It's 7 years old, and with proxies, you can get it done. But in 2025, if you're expecting to buy a 2018 MacBook Pro to edit 4K footage on, then you're just delusional. And as for Photoshop and Lightroom, for the photos that I edit and the thumbnails that I make, it works perfectly fine for. No stuttering, no problems, no issues. And then I guess the final thing that I use this laptop for is watching movies and videos. And the screen, it's amazing. Like I've already stated, like this thing is great for watching movies and videos. But despite all the things that I do on this laptop, I do have one complaint, and it's the fans. For some odd reason, the fans, they just randomly ramp up and then they'll randomly ramp down. Like it'll go through certain periods of time where the fans aren't even on, but then it'll just go through other periods of time where the fans just randomly come on for some reason. And it's not even like you can feel the heat on this MacBook. It's just the fact that they just randomly come on even when the MacBook is cool. I just think it's worth mentioning because this is what I've experienced using this laptop is, the fans, when they come on, they're loud. And then along the lines of performance is battery performance. Now with all my content creation, the max amount of hours I was able to get is 3.5 hours. Now without content creation, it's just note taking, maybe watching videos, movies, casual stuff. I was able to get a max of about 5 hours, which is not bad because this battery, when I got it, was in normal health in 385 cycles. And then one thing that's also worth noting is that these 2018, 2019 MacBook Pros are the last to have boot camp, meaning that you can install Windows on these devices, and it actually makes for a pretty good Windows machine, I'm not gonna lie. So should you buy a 2018 MacBook Pro in 2025? And now there's two arguments to this. Number one, there's the M1 MacBook Air, which is a way better option than this laptop. It's faster, newer, and will be supported longer, especially since Apple is phasing out all their Intel products. And you can honestly find these for a pretty good, reasonably price, especially on Amazon or on eBay used. But then you have the other argument. As these M series laptops keep coming out, these Intel chipped MacBooks are, they're becoming more appetizing. The price is dropping on these. And these, like I said in this video, this still has a lot of life left into it. And if you were to ask me personally, are you still gonna use this MacBook after the video? Yeah, of course I am. I bought it with my money and it still works great. It still functions for all the needs I needed to. And my workflow does work with two laptops. Yeah, that might be weird for some reason for some of you, but for me, it works. I honestly think if you can find a 2018, 2019 MacBook Pro model still reasonably priced here in 2025, then these still make for great machines, honestly. Especially if you're on a budget and you're on a buy now and you don't have enough money to get the newest and greatest M series chip or don't have enough money for the M1 MacBook Air, then these Intel MacBooks, they're perfectly fine here in 2025. But the one thing you do have to remember is the caveats that come with buying an Intel MacBook in 2025, and if you're willing to live with your purchase. But if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.